When you make a cake, you don't start with the frosting. You follow a recipe and mix every ingredient with care because you know if you skip any, you're not going to end up with cake. Learning any piece on the piano is exactly the same, but most piano players skip steps or go out of order. And then they wonder why it's taking them so much longer to make the piece sound good. So if you want to learn any piece faster and finally sound like the musician that you hear in your head, I'm going to show you the exact recipe to follow every single time. Hey piano people, I'm Ashley. I've practiced over 20,000 hours. I've spent over $100,000 on 2 piano performance degrees, and I've taught thousands of piano players from all over the world. Here on Ashlee Young Music Studio, I teach you how to practice smarter, not harder, so you can finally sound like a true artist. Now, as we dive into this recipe for learning any piece faster, I don't want you to worry about writing this recipe down. At the end of this video, I will tell you exactly how to grab the resource that has this recipe laid out for you step by step in the right order so that you don't have to remember it all. I'm also going to put a bunch of links in the description to resources that will help you accomplish every single step of this recipe. All right, let's dive in. There are 2 stages to this process, and both of them are essential. The first stage is baking the cake. This is where your only focus is accuracy. Now, this stage includes 4 steps, and we're going to go in order. And I am going to tell you a little bit about each step so that you have some context and so that you can actually go forward and accomplish each step. Step 1 is listening. Before your hands even touch the keys, I want you to listen to multiple recordings while you follow along with the sheet music. Now, this is like reading the recipe before you actually start baking. This is where you make sure that you're gathering all of the ingredients, and you're essentially making sure that you're setting yourself up for success. Listening to several recordings gives your brain a map of how the piece goes. You'll have a better idea of how it sounds, and you can actually learn a lot more than most people realize just through the listening process. I have an entire video on exactly how to do this in detail, and I will link that under step 1 in the description below. This next step is one that most people skip. Step 2 is rhythm. During this step, you are going to focus only on the rhythm, not on the notes. This is so that you can start to understand not only the rhythmic patterns in the piece, but also the rhythmic structure, which is kind of like the invisible skeleton that holds everything together. You're going to do this by clapping and counting the rhythm of the entire piece out loud. This gives your brain a chance to focus on getting the rhythm accurate before you start to layer in all of the other concepts. If you skip this, the entire structure of your piece will crumble at some point in the learning process. Skipping the rhythm would be kind of like leaving out a very key ingredient, like maybe the sugar. Not only would the cake not bake properly, but it wouldn't even really resemble or taste like a cake when you were done. All right, this next step is kind of like the pan that you put the cake in. And it's not really possible to bake a cake without something to put the batter in. So step 3 is fingering. Now remember, in these first 4 steps, we are focused on accuracy, and that is our only focus. So you want to look at your sheet music, and you will have to play the notes a little bit in order to decide on the fingering and write it in your music. You can test out a few different ones, that's totally fine. And there's actually a ton to say on how to do this. But this video in and of itself isn't all about fingering, so I will link one in the description below. But decide on your fingering, write it in the score, and to the best of your ability, think about how you would play the piece and what fingers you would use at the final tempo, even though here you are still practicing very, very, very slowly. All right, now step 4 is the baking of the cake. And this is where you focus on playing all of the notes as accurately as possible. So you don't just throw your hands on the keys and start playing the piece over and over again, because that will not lead to very much accuracy. Here, you are working in small sections and you're going a lot slower than you think you need to go. Again, you want to focus on playing things as accurately as possible with as many repetitions as possible. And a way that you can think about this is when you bake a cake, you want to bake it for the right amount of time and at the right temperature. And if you don't, it's very possible that the cake will underbake, or it will overbake and it will get all crumbly. Or maybe there's like holes in it, or the batter is all uneven. And all of that to say, if you mess up the baking of the cake, you won't be able to decorate it. It's never going to look like the fully finished product when you're done. Because if you didn't follow the previous steps and if you baked it incorrectly, it's going to be a mess, not a beautiful masterpiece. Okay, so we followed the first 4 steps where the focus is accuracy. The cake is fully baked. Now we're gonna move on to the next 6 steps. And this is where we get to decorate. In your music, this is where the artistry begins. And I love these next 6 steps because we could all take the exact same recipe and the exact same inspiration photo for a birthday cake. And if we were to all bake the exact same cake, every single one of them would be a little bit different and beautifully individual. And that's what's so fun about these next steps. If you're getting anything out of this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, comment below, and let me know what is resonating with you, and copy this link and share it with either a friend via text message or email, or post it in a Facebook group for adult piano players or a Reddit thread. Spread the word about this skill that we are going over in this video because it truly will help transform so many other piano players' lives, and you can be the hero by sharing it with them. Now, step 5 takes a little bit of patience. The analogy that I have here is like if you skip step 5, it's kind of like trying to frost the cake without letting it cool first. I don't know if you've ever done that. I have, because I'm not a great baker. So I don't even know how this analogy came to be. But when you put frosting on a cake that's too hot, it just melts off the sides. It doesn't work. You can have this beautiful vision in your head and the frosting just won't stick. So step 5 is technique. And in order to make artistic choices about all of the steps that we have coming up in our recipe, you have to be able to move your body in a way that helps you get the desired sound out of the piano. Technique is basically the through line that helps support every artistic choice that you will make from here on out. And so if you don't have proper technique, if you don't know how to move your body, if your wrists are stiff or you're sitting at the improper position, all of that frosting, or in other words, the artistry, isn't going to work. I, of course, have resources for proper technique and proper posture. I will put them in the description below. All right, now as we dive into steps 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, I want you to think about a concept. So I don't know about you, but whenever I'm decorating anything really, but especially a cake, I'm going to look up some inspiration photos, right? And I'm going to maybe take some things that I like from this photo and take some things that I like from this photo. And I have that inspiration percolating in my brain as I go to decorate the cake. And the same is true with these next few steps. You're going to be looking to recordings and looking to different versions of the sheet music for inspiration as you make your own artistic choice about what to do with the rest of these steps. So step 6 is articulation. How do you want each note to connect or detach? Legato, staccato, portato, there are tons of options here. And this is where your phrasing really starts to take shape. Now, depending on the time period of the piece, some articulations in your sheet music are going to be more set in stone than others. But as I said, you can listen to various recordings, look at various versions of the sheet music, and ultimately make your artistic choice about what articulations you want to do in your piece of music. I have a video all about this. I'm going to link it in the description below. Step 7 is dynamics. And dynamics bring the emotion. They are a big part of how you make a piece sound artistic and beautiful and musical. You can listen to many recordings and evaluate what do you like about the dynamics that the performer is using and what don't you like about the dynamics the performer is using. Look at several different versions of the sheet music and notice how the dynamics are going to vary depending on the version of the sheet music that you're looking at. And then ultimately decide what dynamics express the musicality that you want to express in the piece of music. Now, once you start to make those choices, I highly recommend that you use the practice of dynamic numbers because that's going to take a very ambiguous artistic topic like dynamics and bring it a little bit more down to earth and help it be a little more practical and help you implement it with a way to actually evaluate if you are accomplishing it or not. I will link in the description to the video about dynamic numbers. Step 8 is the pedaling. And again, listen to various recordings, look at different scores, and decide what pedaling makes sense for your piano, for your room, and for the artistry that you want to bring out in the piece. Now, I actually have a brand new pedal course, and honestly, at the time of recording this video, we are getting ready to go into the beta launch round, and I don't know if the course will still be available when you're watching this video, but if it is, I will link it in the description below, and if it's not, I'll put the link for you to get on the wait list, because this course teaches you exactly how to decide on the pedaling regardless of if it's written in the score or not. I also teach you all of the pedal symbols, what all of the pedals do, and basically everything that you need to know to be 100% confident in your pedaling skills in any piece. Okay, step 9 is tempo. Listen to various recordings. How fast are they going? What is the actual metronome marking? Where are they speeding up? Where are they slowing down? Look at different versions of the sheet music and notice, is there a ritardando written in one and not in another one? Make your choices about what tempo you're going to play at, where you will speed up, where you will slow down, and then write them in the score and get to practicing. I have an incredibly effective resource for tempo practice, and I'll put that in the description as well. And lastly, step 10 is refining musical expression. This is where you really start to get comfortable with your piece, where you're actually practicing playing through it, and you're differentiating between practicing for accuracy, which hopefully you've achieved a very high level of if you've followed the other steps of this recipe, but also where you now have time in your practice routine to actually play through the piece as though you were performing it. So now you're really getting comfortable and confident playing the piece beginning to end, moving on from your mistakes, getting the flow. You've locked in the pedaling, the tempo, and all of those other things. And here is where your artistry really starts to shine. This is where you might start to share music with a friend or record a video. And if you're nervous about that, I will put some links to resources in the description below. Now, this recipe that we just went over, this is a process that I have used personally and that I have taught for 20 years. Through every performance degree, every recital, every competition, and every student I've ever taught. And if you follow it, you will truly start to express the artist inside of you. So the next time you sit down to practice, just remember, you bake first, you decorate later, you follow these steps in order, and you will have success. And if you want the resource that shows you all of these steps in order, with even more explanation on how to accomplish them, I'm gonna link it right here on the end screen. It's called the Confidence Roadmap. And the other resource links that I mentioned are all in the description. And I'm gonna link the first one on the end screen as well. That's the video on how to listen to your pieces. Happy practicing.